So it's pretty apparent, right? The United States has the best internet in the world. I mean, it's just a fact. America does everything better, right? Yeah. You'd be wrong if you think that. So there is a looming crisis here in the United States that is not being talked about enough by the federal government, by the consumers, or, the general population, by ISPs, really anybody, okay? And it's an issue that's really going to hurt the entirety of the United States if it's not something that we address. Of course, this is a total first world problem, as, there's a lot of developing countries who, they need to build their food infrastructure up a little bit more and things like that. But in the United States, we rank 10th in the world when it comes to the average internet speed. The United States ranks 10th. The countries that place above the United States in their average internet speed is South Korea, who is number 1, Norway, Sweden, Hong Kong, Switzerland, Finland, Singapore, Japan, and Denmark. That's if you go by Akamai Technologies numbers. However, if you go by the Worldwide Broadband Speed League of 2018, by cable.co.uk and MLab, the United States ranks 20th. And some of the countries that place above the US are ones you might not even know exist. If you want to go ahead and use that number, going by them, Singapore is number 1, with the average connection of over 60 megabytes per second, then Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Romania, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Hungary, Jersey, Switzerland, Japan, Latvia, the Republic of China, Estonia, Spain, Lithuania, Andorra, and Hong Kong. Countries that rank near the US but just below include Slovakia, Madagascar, France, Finland, Germany, New Zealand, the Czech Republic, Slovenia, Portugal, South Korea, Bulgaria, Poland, Canada, Iceland, who are all very easily able to overtake the US in the coming years if things keep going on the path that they are. And this is because the United States is not seriously enough taking into consideration the power of the internet and what we need to be doing to make sure that we're among the world's elites when it comes to the internet usage in our country. And this is because the United States is currently building up towards the issue of technology and its requirements actually exceeding our current limitations. One of these would be 5G technology. Okay, now this is obviously technology that is not exactly implemented or even really feasible at the current moment. However, in the next few years, this is going to hopefully become the mainstream technology that we're using. There's a lot of excitement around it, obviously. Hey, we're taking a step forward, this is going to be the new generation of technology, really, 5G. However, by 2022, which is only 3 years from now, only 3 to 9% of the United States market will even have the ability to really use this technology. And the truth is, folks, is that 3 years in the technology world is nothing. The United States, which is obviously one of the biggest and greatest countries on the planet, or is supposed to be, at least, is falling behind when it comes to one of the most crucial factors of implementing these technologies. Now, the truth is that there are still millions of Americans who are still connecting to the internet with dial-up, okay? There are still millions of Americans who do not have high-speed internet, okay? Can you imagine how bad it would be if you remember dial-up internet? You remember how horrible it was, really, for the internet at that time. Can you imagine the just basic unusable nature of the internet if you have dial-up connections today? In the modern era? And a lot of this comes down to the government's failure to really implement programs and to push innovation in this way, okay? Now, there's a major difference between the United States and a lot of these other advanced nations around the world who are clearly defeating us in internet capability. And the difference is that here in the United States, we don't have a plan to develop broadband internet and to consistently upgrade our infrastructure to the point that we will actually become competitive, okay? To the point that we will actually have some of the best internet in the world. There are lots of countries around the world where there are federal policies and plans in action to upgrade the infrastructure of their telecommunications and of the internet. In the United States, it's not really that noticeable of an issue. Most of us just use the internet and assume this is about as the best it can really get. Well, it's not. We are already lacking behind, okay? and we're going to continue lagging behind until we do something about this. We are the only country to completely abandon federal oversight of an uncompetitive, highly concentrated market that sells critical services to all people, yet we as consumers and as a country expect widely available, affordable, and ultra-fast services. I don't know about you guys, but I don't live in a major city. I don't live in New York. I don't live in Dallas. I don't live in Los Angeles or Chicago or Miami, anywhere like that. I live in a small-sized city. There is no Google Fiber, anything like that here. There is fiber internet in very specific locations, but unfortunately, a lot of the city that I live in is low income. There's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of crime, and the internet infrastructure here is significantly lacking behind. And it's even worse in rural areas of the United States, where I personally would assume that most of those dial-up users are currently residing. Because the truth is that ISPs just are not pushing high-speed internet into these rural areas and into these low-income areas fast enough. They are not developing at a speed that is consistent with how the United States should be, and they're not doing it at a rate that really keeps us in tune with the rest of the world. And what that's going to keep resulting in as technology continues to progress and constantly get better is our country falling further and further behind in the technological gap. The truth is that a lot of Americans are afraid of China. You'll constantly see news articles. China is poised to overtake the US economy by 2020. We're finally not going to be on top anymore. China's going to be the world's sole superpower by 2050. We're not going to be on top anymore. Well, what if I told you that China is predicted to have more than 5 times the amount of households using fiber gigabit connections than the United States will by 2023? China will have overall much better internet. They will have more people connected to fiber gigabit connections than the United States will. I think we all know how important the internet has become to commerce and to the economies of all these different countries around the world. A ridiculous amount of commerce happens on the internet now. I mean, you can go on Amazon and buy virtually anything. It's at your door in 2 days. The United States will suffer if we do not start stepping up the game, if we do not start rapidly redeveloping our infrastructure, our internet infrastructure, and we don't start making an effort to make it back to the top. A lot of these other countries like Japan and South Korea had government plans and had government infrastructure built to connect more people to the internet at higher speeds, and they have seen immense gain from these things. Countries in the EU are heading towards universal access, including their rural markets. Just think about that. In Europe, if you live in the rural area, you will have universal connection to high-speed internet before some people in the United States are in rural areas are off of dial-up internet connection. More Americans missing out on the innovations of technology and the internet is going to mean a worse future for more Americans, okay? Because let's be honest, cloud computing, gaming, education, all kinds of things are starting to transform how we use the internet. We are educating some of the people in our country online completely, entirely. There are college degrees you can earn online. Some children do homeschooling and stuff like that. We have amazing technology that we already know about, like 5G, that only in, 3 years, less than 10% of the United States will even have the ability to access, let alone the actual means to access it due to how badly we're falling behind in internet technology, okay? You have technology like Google Stadia that just got announced, where you can basically play, hopefully in the future, any game just by streaming it to your screen in 4K 60 FPS. But the truth is how many Americans currently can actually just stream consistently a 4K game at 60 FPS? We're 20th in the world in internet speeds. How many Americans do you really believe can stream that good? Okay, now of course the technology will downscale based on your internet connection, so if you can't connect in 4K, it will of course connect you in like 1080p, things like that, but that just shows that Americans are truly missing out on the latest and greatest innovations in technology, and that we will continue to do so at a worsening pace in the future. Because what differentiates the United States from all these other countries that are rapidly developing these telecommunications industries and are developing high-speed gigabit fiber access for their people is that their governments are not failing them in this category. The United States government and ISPs and big business in the United States absolutely is failing the public when it comes to our internet technology. A lot of the conversation in the last few years has been around net neutrality, and of course that's a completely separate debate really, but internet service providers in the United States are purposely lacking behind because they don't need to do anything. They don't need to make these changes. They're still making their money. But there is of course something you can try and do to speed up this process. If you want everyone to have better internet, you really want to make America's internet great again, and you want to develop our infrastructure back into being something glorious, and you want to make sure that America as a country can experience the treasures that the next generation of internet and technology are going to hold, you need to start contacting your internet service providers, and you need to start contacting your local representatives in government, your congressmen, your local representatives. You need to start sending messages to the president. You need to make sure that this is something that you make sure they know that you as a American taxpayer and voter want. America is one of the biggest countries in the world when it comes to internet usage, when it comes to how much money goes through the internet here, and we're falling behind to the point that only in a few years we will be surpassed at an extreme rate by the Chinese in high-speed connections and in e-commerce and everything like that. I don't think that we as Americans should accept that. The future of humanity is through technology and the internet. We as a country need to step up and do our jobs and make sure that we have proper internet access to make sure that we are complying with the future guidelines that technology will hold, and that starts by contacting representatives and ISPs. I've already done my part. You should be doing your part too. It's not hard to find them. Tell your ISPs that if they refuse to develop gigabit fiber services in your area, that you will switch to a competitor that does. Start making tweets, start making hashtags, start sharing information about it, start doing research for yourself, start informing your family members, okay? The more people that are involved in this, the better. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new. I will leave a bunch of resources down in the description for you to do a little bit more research and see, some of the sources that I came up with this information for. I hope this video taught you something new. If it did, of course, make sure to share it with a friend or just share it with an ISP or something. Follow me over on Twitter at @SubToOptimus. I post memes, thoughts, and updates over there. It's a surefire way to get notifications of my newest content. Join the Discord down below. Lots of great things going on down there. Thank you to my channel members for your $5 a month. Your support helps my channel tremendously. If you'd like to become a channel member and support my content for $5 a month, you can do so by hitting the join button down below or the become a channel member link in the description. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus on prehistoric internet speeds in the year 2019 and signing out.